First and foremost, I want to thank all of you for taking time out of your busy schedule. There's a lot of other things that you'd be doing with your time, but I really appreciate all of you taking the time to hear from both candidates tonight. I want to thank the sponsor for the opportunity. I thought I would start out by just kind of giving you a flavor of who I am as a person, because a lot of times you see different mailers, and I want to give you a flavor of who I am, because I think that gives you a little bit of kind of an opportunity to see who you have in me if I'm lucky enough to be your next congressman. In order to do that, I want to share a story of who my hero is in my life. I believe the society talks about heroes very loosely. Some people talk about sports athletes or movie stars, bless you. My hero in my life is my dad, Sergeant First Class Donald Strickland. You see, my dad served in Korea and Vietnam, and after he got injured in Vietnam, he became a drill sergeant at Fort Ord Army Base, where I was born. Now, you can imagine what it was like as a little kid growing up with a drill sergeant for a dad. Every minute I was late, I was grounded a week. My friends used to call my home Strickland. And to this day, my dad turned 80 right before the primary. I know he can still take me down. But the biggest lesson I learned from my father was it's up to every generation to leave the next generation with more opportunity than they had. Fight for something greater than yourself. That's what I learned from my dad. And no matter where I go around this campaign, every corner of this district, I ask a basic question. Say, how many people believe that the previous generation, your parents' generation, left you with more opportunity than they had? And almost everybody raises their hand. Yes, they did. Then I ask the follow-up question. I said, well, how many people believe your next generation, your kids and grandkids, will have more opportunity than you? And sadly, whatever group, Democrat, Republican, Union Hall, it doesn't matter. Most people don't raise their hand. I don't think that's a lack in faith in our community, because we all know here in Santa Clarita, there's more nonprofits that are active than anywhere else, and the community does come together to fight for each other and fight for this community. I think that's a lack of faith in elected leadership. I think it's a lack of faith in what's going on in Washington. Too many times in Washington, as I'm walking door to door, people say, you know, I have a feeling that if it's good for your political party and bad for the country, you're still happy. And I get that a lot when I walk door to door. And I think too many people in Washington are talking at each other instead of with each other. Another part of my background is I played team sports my whole life. And when you look at team sports, think about it. People come from different backgrounds, different life experiences to come together to fight for a common goal. Now, we're not always going to agree with everybody on every issue. My wife and I don't agree on every issue. However, I think what's missing right now in Washington is people being statesmen, people walking, sitting across the table, and fighting to come to a common ground and move the ball forward. You know, it's a vision, quite frankly, that happened in most recent history. Ronald Reagan worked extremely well with Tip O'Neill. Bill Clinton worked well with Bob Dole and Newt Gingrich. That's the last time we actually had a balanced budget in our country. We need more of that, people that can work together to accomplish a goal. You know, for me, I go back to another generation. Obviously, I wasn't alive, but John F. Kennedy, when he first got elected president, he challenged the country. This is a statesman. He challenged the country and said, we're going to put a man in the moon by the end of the decade. And if you look at public opinion polls when he made that bold statement, he said that to come together as Americans for a common goal. When you look at the polls, most Americans didn't believe that was possible. It was right after Sputnik. But people came together as Americans to accomplish that goal together as Americans. We need more of that. And so with that, I would like to just say, I would like to change the culture in Washington. I've had a good working relationship with both sides of the aisle in my time in Sacramento, and I'm hoping to go back to Washington to sit across the aisle. In fact, I was attacked in the primary as being, quote unquote, a deal maker. And I'll say I'm guilty as charged, because I did sit across the aisle, and I did sit with different people with different backgrounds to try to come to a yes for what I thought was best for my community and for my district. And so I don't care if it's a Republican idea. I don't care if it's a Democratic idea. I only care if it's a good idea. And if it's a good idea for our district, our community, our country, and our state, I'm all in. With that, the election's coming up 48 days from today on November 4th, and I'd be honored to have your vote. Thank you so much.